Not y'all went off the group chat, but y'all study with y'all notifications on. Y'all, let's talk about this weird hate train that folks keep trying to board about Jada Pinkett Smith and her new book. I didn't know y'all was gonna be this mad at Stony for touching about her life. Girl, so recently we all know that Jada had recently published her memoir, which is 400 pages about her life. Your girl is half a century, and she decided that she wanted to talk about her own story. There's been a lot going on the last couple of years, and she's penning her own words to a page. But somehow that's not enough for some of y'all, and people are acting like she's saying new information, a lot of which was already in Will's book, but people are also spazzing out and joining on this random hate train about her needing to be quiet, even though they're looking at every click and every clip of her online. It's like the algorithm is telling on some folks and they're acting like Jada's forcing them into the conversation. Sis, you watch every clip that came down your timeline. You could have just swooped past. But let's touch on some of the topics that have been covered in the most controversial stuff that people have a problem with. Okay, so it's been one of the more disturbing parts of the controversy around Jada's book is the idea that within this 400 pages, which is very candid, and really a book that is more so about introspective work and self-reflection and love and identity and how you find your way around that and navigate it, that she's not allowed to write about her 26-year marriage to Will Smith. It's the ways in which we act like he's a celebrity to her too. Like that's her real husband. But somehow we're like, yeah, you can't talk about that in a memoir about your life. You can be 52 and cover your story, but you can't talk about your marriage because I don't like the way that that you're not idolizing the Fresh Prince. He really is her husband in real life. They're normal human beings. And I really don't understand the idea that people would think that if you're going to write a memoir about your life, you would not ever touch the surface of talking about your significant other. Because Will Smith didn't have a problem doing that when he wrote his own. It's also weird to me the way that we are still so caught up in headlines that they don't connect to whether the idea makes sense. So the controversy about them being separate for 7 years is something that they already touched on in 2018 on Red Table Talk. And then Will talked about again in his own autobiography that was written a couple years ago, maybe 2 to 3 years ago. So she didn't actually reveal anything that Will hasn't already revealed or that wasn't talked about on Red Table Talk before the pandemic. But somehow we're acting like she revealed new information and told some secrets that we didn't already know. It is awkward to me the ways in which people will try to find anything that isn't true to just keep harping on this lady to keep making it seem like she's ruining some Huxtable-esque picture of who they're supposed to be. Honey, the Cosbys ain't even the Cosbys to be saying all of that. But it's the fact that people want this idealistic picture of them instead of the reality of who they are as true life partners. And I also find it weird that people are trying to connect this to whether or not they'll respect their legacy in film and television or as artists in general, because it's something that's ruining for us, the Black community. We only have a few it was scions or idols in this community to worry about in Black love as a whole. And it's shocking to me because this ain't the first time it's happened in the Black community. Or did y'all forget? So, like I said, I don't understand why we are having this whole big story around, this idea that somehow the things and the themes that are going on between Will and Jada's relationship are something that is new to us, or even that the controversy around the idea that the walls are being broken down from what we assumed was their Clifton Claire relationship is somehow different for us, and that's in some weird way we won't be able to respect Will Smith's career or ruining his legacy of him being great in films and great on television, and Jada and who we love her as an actress and who we know her to be as a mom and wife, because there's been controversy around their relationship. We somehow are able to not apply that to other people who have had controversial lives, but for some reason with Will and Jada, it's unfathomable. And I really want to touch on this in relationship to people that we sometimes consider to be Black icons. Without question, Sidney Poitier is considered to be the quintessential Black male actor. He's somebody that tons of actors have looked up to, including Will, including Denzel, um, and numerous others. And Diane Carroll is somebody who is seen as the epitome of class or whatever. So why do we have so much ire for Will and Jada, but not for these two? And they was having an affair for 10 years. That lady was messing with that. That lady was messing with that man while he was full on married with kids, honey. She even had a baby with somebody else and was married, and they was messing together for 10 years. Okay. And guess when she wrote about it? In her memoir. And she wrote about it in her memoir when she was what, in her 60s or 70s, and told that story flat out, honey. And if you think this information about Will and Jada is something you're gonna be completely devastated reading about Sydney and Diane, because it was a whirlwind roller coaster of drama and full mess. Honey, when I tell you, not only was she sleeping with somebody else's husband this entire time that they're popular, he's super controlling. He's trying to tell her what to do. He set her up with an apartment. It was giving Love and Hip Hop. He set her up with an apartment in New York to live in, that he wanted to come down and visit, while his wife and him were living in upstate New York. Do you hear me? Trying to set her and the daughter up. Her daughter used to call him Uncle Sidney. That's how much she saw him, because they were sleeping together while they were both married. And it's crazy to me how none of this ever makes us feel like, oh, I can't respect her. I can't respect him. I'm not going to respect the legacy. I'm not going to watch the movies anymore. But somehow Will and Jada is like, oh my God, it's ruining my fantasy. Child, please. These people were having a whole affair. And when they ended the affair, they were in a movie together. They didn't even know they was going to be in the movie together. They end up in Paris in a movie together, maybe a couple of months after they had ended their affair. And they're playing a couple in the movie. It was wild, but somehow we're able to pull it together. And they continue to be friends in their 70s and 80s. Now, y'all love to talk about a good old, this is disrespectful. And how could she talk about this one and that one and still be with her husband? Who are you going to be cool with that you used to have an affair with and you still married to the woman that you that you cheated on? And to this day, till they turned 80 something years old, and one of them passed away, he was still friends with his mistress, whether they was actually cool or not. And y'all had no problem with them. But let's move on. I want to talk about another couple. So, honey, if there were any couple that met the requirements of being controversial in their own right, honey, it would be Ozzie Davis and Ruby D. And in their memoir together that they wrote side by side, they discussed the fact that they had an open marriage. Pinnacles of the Black community, activists in their own right, respected craft, respected in the acting world. And somehow we don't have a problem with that. It's the ways in which we have this fake controversy around Will and Jada. This is the first time that we've seen this. And the fact that they talked about and explored in their own memoir that they also went through a period in their marriage where they were actually having an open relationship. And I want to quote Ruby directly about this, because she talks about the fact that when they decided to embrace the idea of, having an open relationship, they started to really explore the idea of the realness of love. And she says, from the observation and reasoning, they both agreed that extramarital sex wasn't the problem when it came to destroying marriages, but rather the lies and the deceptions that invariably accompany them. Now, I'm not saying that anybody that is married has to live like this. I'm saying that there are people who have different versions of things that happen in their marriage. People go through things in life. And the idea that we're acting like it's so far off and that these things don't occur is crazy. This doesn't have to be what you want in your marriage. Ruby's just saying that they were living in Hollywood. They were living underneath a lot of pressure. They were going through all these different things. They decided to have the open situation. And from my understanding, I believe it was Ruby that actually took the golden ticket and used it. I think Ozzy used it a little bit, but he didn't really do whatever. And they would be shooting in different locations and all this different stuff. Great book. Check it out if you get a chance. But the point remains that they realized that the issue came into the lies part of it all. The fact that when people do cheat and they go and step out, they're lying to their partner the whole time. They're not being clear about what's happening. They're if they're going through something, the person just goes and has an affair, and then it comes out because the person has a baby with somebody else or something else occurs where it gets exposed. And it was like if the person knows your flaws, if you're talking through things, if you're going through something and you're just more honest about your situation, that made her love him more than to lie to me about the situation. And I'm not saying accept what's going on with somebody. I'm saying that if you're going through a tough path in your relationship, in your life, choose the path that you want that's best for you. But the idea that we are overly judging these people for something that first is not new within Black Hollywood or Black controversy, and not even just Black Hollywood, because we know people's families that got that going on, honey. We know plenty of people who got a cousin down south that's really a brother or a sister because grandpa stepped out or grandma stepped out or auntie or uncle stepped out and something's going on. But we are acting like this is not in people's families. That this controversy around relationships or different paths or different types of marriages is something that's new to us. I think though my whole point in saying this is that for some reason we were able to respect Ruby and respect Ozzy, and they told their business. We were able to respect Diane and Sydney, and they told their business. Sydney wrote 2 books, honey. And so it's amazing to me that somehow we can see them as these icons and these icons in our community, but somehow we're so devastated by what Will and Jada are revealing, even though it's not really a new situation. And by the way, nobody was calling people into table talk. Folks were actively watching that. She got an Emmy for a reason because we were actively tuning into all of these things. So they weren't inundating us with too much content. We were looking at the blogs, paying attention to all the clips too. You can't really be mad at somebody in the group chat where you're checking it every 5 minutes. All right, so let's get to the other part of this dynamic, which is people that are so angry about her discussing Tupac, which she don't even get to like I think page 80 or 81. So, she's talking about her life growing up in Baltimore, her family, that dynamic, again, talking about what she went through and rediscovering how that affected her early on in her childhood and the decisions that she made. So she finally talks about her best friend from high school. Highlight the word best friend over and over again in your brain, because I do not understand for the love of me the fact that people are upset about this lady talking about somebody she knew in real life. Tupac was really her friend in real life. We did not know him. We were fans. We're fans of his music. We don't know him in real life. Jada would have knew him whether or not he ever made a hit record or if he ever worked at UPS for the rest of his life. If he had never, ever, ever graced our screens, touched a microphone, and he had gone on to work somewhere in the city of Baltimore and never surfaced out to be Tupac Shakur, the legend, the icon, we would never even know who he was, and she would have still been his friend and had been his friend through all the iterations and stages of his life. They had a very, very close relationship super early on. And we oftentimes forget that they really like saw each other through a lot since they were kids. Both had drug addicted mothers. They had, going to like living in Baltimore in the hard streets of how, that era will, crack era cocaine. They really dealt with a lot of drama and they managed to make it out. By the time I think like Juice came out in like the 90s, Jada was already on TV. They both had made it in television for her and music for him. But imagine chasing your dreams with your friend and being in performing arts high school, not knowing if you're going to ever, get out of your area and your city and have a better life and a better way for yourself. And then y'all both actually make it. And for some reason, that was an issue for people. Even a lot of times when people try to throw the drama in regarding like the poems or the letters, Tupac was a poet. We know that. Y'all went out and bought his book. And it's crazy to me because a lot of the poems that he wrote, Jada, were just about the tightness of their friendship, not about her, not about sex, not about any type of thing. I think they had like a small moment, but nothing ever really worked for them as far as a romantic situation. And even his family shouted that down when they made the movie about him, that horrible movie about him, All Eyes on Me, which was something that his family did not co-sign, that Jada did not co-sign. They said it was just a lot of, liberties taken with it, and it did not even reflect his real life. So it's sad to me that people like to try to marry up like, oh, this was her man and somehow she's disrespecting Will, when in fact they were more friends than anything else. And she stuck with him through a lot of things. But so she's going to have stories about her friend that impacted her real life, but impacted our personal life. And that's the part I don't understand, because why are we allowed to obsess about him, but she isn't? I mean, when you think about it, look at all the stuff that we're obsessed about him with. So wait, we allowed to have all of this? So let's keep it real. The hypocrisy around the fact that Jada can't mourn Tupac as thick as her hair used to be, honey. The way in which we telling this lady that she cannot mourn her slain friend that we are still reeling from in real life, the way that he impacted this world and impacted other artists in this world and impacted his fan base. We are currently still going through that. And we're telling her that she doesn't have the right to speak about that in general, to post a birthday picture about him on his birthday, to talk about memories, loving and controversial, because somehow it'll affect what for us. We're literally watching this court TV-esque situation break down years and years later after he was killed with the possibility of who might murder him. And people are literally making fan pages just about that. They're making conspiracy theory pages about that. Suge Knight is weighing in from jail, but Jada can't say nothing. It is startling the ways in which we are disrespecting the fact that this is somebody who truly was in her life. We were just fans enjoying lyrics and music, and it is not the same thing. Lastly, I just want to talk about how the hate train is building so much that it's getting ridiculous as to how we pretending that we don't know how a book tour happens. Not only is Jada allowed to tell her story, but she is allowed to use the same format that everybody else is using to promote their book. And the idea that when people are promoting memoirs, they don't go and do interviews is absolutely ridiculous. When people go write books, they absolutely do interviews. She was going to do this same circuit that anybody else was doing that is currently on book tour. And there are a few people who are, and more people who will be next year. Shout out to Little Kim, we can't wait. And so it's shocking to me the ways that we are holding her accountable for things that are just normal things that would happen when you have written a memoir about your life. You're going to go do the press circuits because you're obviously promoting the book. The fact that her life happens to include famous people, she can't help that. And so she's doing these interviews, having lengthy conversations with people about more than just Will or Tupac, but they're extracting that and reposting it, and people are falling for it and going like, oh my gosh, she's overly talking about them. You're watching the same clips over and over again, and you're watching them take and extract the drama and saying that that's all she's discussing. The interview will be 4 minutes long. They'll take that 1 minute and post it online, and everybody's clawing at her throat. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I wonder why we are not even connecting to the idea that she's literally being singled out versus other people who have been doing the exact same thing for the last couple of weeks with some of the same controversy involved. So one of the most shocking things to me is the fact that Jade is not even the only person with a memoir out right now. And specifically, the way we act like we don't understand how a book tour works, that we don't understand that people are going to be going to do interviews, they're going to be talking to the media, and then the media is going to extract the thing that's going to get us to watch it, right? That's what we do here on YouTube. That's what we do here on multiple places. So the idea that we're now clawing at her neck for something that Carrie Washington did a week ago, we found out her daddy wasn't her daddy. And because she found out her daddy wasn't her daddy, we were all clamoring to go buy Thicker Than Water. I don't understand. Same thing happening with Britney Spears. She's telling everything, honey, and continue to spend online with no clothes on half the time. And we have no issue with the fact that we learned all Justin Timberlake tea. We learned about whether or not there was cheating with Justin Timberlake. We learned about all the other things that her parents did, controversial wise, all the background information, all the tea. She's spreading it all out with no shame. And they was like, oh, Brittany has the right to tell her story because she's been so quiet, or Carrie's normally quiet. But both of these women, Carrie physically on book tour, Brittany choosing to just keep spending in her house and letting y'all know the book is out, are on this list as well because of the controversy of those books. Not because you really wanted to know what Brittany cooks in the kitchen, or not because you really wanted to know Carrie's love of being an artist. Because Thicker Than Water is about more than just the controversy around her parents and finding out, that her dad wasn't her actual father. So it is shocking to me the ways in which we are acting like controversy isn't used to sell books, or that people don't extract what they find to be the most salacious thing to be able to get you attracted to the content, even if that's not what the content is fully about. And it's weird to see like other celebrities jumping on that situation. And I'm going to repeat what I said in a comment somewhere else. The fact that they're like rappers getting involved who have always had controversial relationships or questionable relationships with women that are like, oh, I'm not going to get married. Sir, respectfully, you were never going to get married. Let's stop it, Rick Ross. Don't ruin a good time for us, making it believe that you was going to ruin somebody's life by becoming a husband. It's shocking to me the way that people are just jumping on this just for virality moments. I don't understand. And it's also weirdo behavior to keep jumping on, every moment to try to down anything that she's saying. The amount of rebuttals that have come back on anything that she's saying just to be proven wrong. People saying like, oh, Will's, done with her because when he posted that his notifications were turned off, he was talking to the general public, but people thought that he was talking to Jada and he wasn't. And so they were like, oh, that's right, Will, you got to step up for yourself and leave. First of all, that man loved his wife and he ain't leaving. He didn't already told y'all that in his book. And she didn't already told y'all she not leaving. And they in it for life. But on top of that, people really thought that he was somewhere else. And the whole time he was at the library with her in Baltimore with the rest of her family while they were supporting her for the book launch. It's crazy to me the way that people are finding any little thing to try to diminish anything that she's saying. And that includes the sales of the book. Whether you like the content, whether you like Jada, whether you want to read more about their life or at least secretly do it, because we know that happens so often. People be secret fans. But she is at the top of the Amazon charts list. This was Amazon's list as of October 26, 2023. She is number 3. Britney Spears is number 1. And she was number 3 yesterday. What was it? The 20? No, she was number 3. No, she was number 3 on the 24th on the New York Times bestsellers list. She's now number 4 as of the 26th, 27th on the New York Times bestsellers list. But they were going out saying that she wasn't. Hell, even Charlemagne, who has been, somebody that's been very vocal on the Breakfast Club about it, it was like, wait a minute now, whether or not you want to read the book or you agree to read the book or you feel like too much is being told or whatever, why you're diminishing this sister's numbers? She actually did make the New York Times bestsellers list. She actually did make the Amazon sellers list. Y'all are just now throwing anything because it's just easy to keep piling on. And again, it's weirdo energy. The ways in which people are trying to divide this family is so weird to me. At the end of the day, their life doesn't have to be for you. Their lifestyle doesn't have to be for you. And quite frankly, you can always tune out from any content dealing with them and nobody's going to care. You don't have to announce it. I promise you. But the idea that we want to see them so separated because some people may not agree with their lifestyle or agree with what's going on with them or agree with them reconciling, which they both already said that they have done and that they're working on. And it's amazing to me that we want to see more brokenness than truth, that we're more interested in seeing, more lying and perceptions and falsehoods than people's realities and a cleansing of saying, like, this is who we are, whether you like it or not. We would much rather continue to hold on to that fake, idealistic life than for people to be like, look, I'm freely saying at this big grown age, we've had controversies. It's been a mess. We figured it out. And the fact is that some people in America have similar relationships and marriages. We just don't know them. And I don't mean necessarily the openness or, breaking up and staying together. Although there are many people who had parents who lived together for many years, honey, was in the same household and was divorced or separated. Plenty of people are doing that, including Meryl Streep. But y'all acting like they are somehow unique to this situation. And the fact that we want to see such demolishment of her relationship with her family, the day that she started the first part of her book tour, there was a story that got posted that her family was upset with the book and her her kids were embarrassed. Not only were the kids at the book tour and have been at the book tour with her at different stops, and that includes Trey, her bonus son. um they've been doing family events along the way, and that includes at the library, and that includes Will Smith family too. His mama was at the book reading, and it was at Jada mama birthday party later on that night, and they in the pictures. So it's the ways in which people, and his sister, it's the ways in which people keep acting like there's this weird dynamic between them and they're not supporting each other. They already told you that they in this for life. They know each other's flaws, they know each other's secrets, and they still like, I love you and I'm sticking around. And I think that we could just park it there, turn on your notifications, filter out content if you don't want to hear them, but stop telling this lady that she can't speak at all. And I will leave you with this final thought.
One thing y'all gonna learn about me is I stay out of married people's goddamn business, okay? Y'all over here being mad, talking about, I don't want to hear about Will and Jada's marriage. I don't want to hear about it. Okay, then cut the shit off. Stop giving them a damn platform. Y'all acting like some people got your eyes open like this is Bird Box or some shit. Cut this shit off. Look, one thing y'all gonna learn about me is I don't give a fuck about nobody else's marriage because I got my own shit going on. Y'all notice that every content creator had their own two-piece and the biscuit to talk about Ray Shonda and LaShonda's marriage. I ain't saying shit because I don't give a damn. Y'all over here having night sweats and heart palpitations talking about I haven't been able to sleep because of what Will and Jada are doing. But that damn Jada's a monster. Well, Will ain't no motherfucking saint neither. Didn't he admit on the red tabletop that he was fucking around and cheating too? Wasn't there a rumor about him fucking Margot Robbie? Barbie? Oh, Will was beating it down, giving her her last will. I just don't understand all the hostility towards Jada. Her ass did an interview. Was she supposed to be like Beyonce and everybody on mute and not say shit? They asked her a damn question, she answered it. What y'all mad about? Acting like Jada just giving us information about her marriage unsolicited, like these motherfucking interviewers didn't ask her this damn question.